Hey ARMY! Before we start, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you won't miss any latest updates about BTS. And if you're super excited about BTS's comeback this March, drop a purple heart emoji in the comments. Okay ARMY, you must be counting down the days until BTS's comeback on March 20th, right? Album Arirang, a world tour with 79 concerts in 34 countries. Everything has us hyped beyond belief. But there's one thing that makes me personally even more excited. You know what? The BTS members themselves said that Jimin and JHope are now on a different level. Yes, a different level. I'm not exaggerating. This is an actual statement from the other members. So the question is, what does that even mean? Why specifically Jimin and JHope? And most importantly, what makes them earn such recognition? Well, in today's video we're going to break down all the mysteries. So make sure you watch until the end, because there are some interesting reveals you absolutely can't miss. Okay, let's rewind to 2022. When BTS announced their hiatus and members started enlisting in the military gradually, honestly a lot of ARMY were worried, right? We all wondered, what will happen when they come back? Will their chemistry still be the same? Will they still be in sync like before? But guess what ARMY? The opposite happened. This hiatus period actually became the most insane transformation phase, especially for Jimin and JHope. And I'm not playing around, their transformation is genuinely next level. Let's start with JHope first. You all know JHope as BTS's sunshine, the mood maker, the incredible dance leader. But JHope wasn't just the first member to enlist, he was also the first member to seriously explore a solo career. Album Jack in the Box in 2022, followed by Hope on the Street in 2024, and what was most game-changing was that he did a solo tour. Now this is what makes JHope different now. Imagine ARMY. For over 10 years, JHope always performed with 6 other members. He had a support system on stage, but during his solo tour, he was alone. All eyes were on him. All the energy had to come from him alone. All interaction with the audience became his sole responsibility. And this experience, according to JHope himself in several interviews, taught him things he never could have learned even after debuting for more than a decade with BTS. You know what's most insane? RM once said in a live stream, when they started practicing together again for album Arirang, he was literally shocked seeing JHope now. JHope, who was already amazing as a dance leader before, but JHope now operates on a completely different frequency. He can read the room in a different way. He brings a different confidence. His approach to choreography is more philosophical. Not just this move goes like this, but this is why the concept matters. This is what emotion we want to convey. This is how it connects with the music. Jin even joked that he had to relearn how to follow JHope. Why? Because JHope's teaching style has completely evolved. More efficient, more detailed, but somehow easier to understand. Imagine guys, Jin, who's known JHope for decades, says that. This isn't a small change, this is a fundamental transformation. Then there's a story from Big Hit staff that I read when JHope shared his solo touring experience with other members. He gave tips about pacing, energy management, how to adjust performances based on different venues and audiences. Even Suga, who also had his own world tour, acknowledged that JHope's insights were super valuable. Imagine 2 members who both did solo tours sharing wisdom like that. Their level of discussion must be insane. What's even more fascinating, ARMY, is how JHope's collaboration with international street dancers during his Hope on the Street project completely revolutionized his understanding of dance as a universal language. He worked with legends from different dance cultures, absorbed their philosophies, and brought all that knowledge back to BTS. This isn't just about new moves or techniques. This is about understanding dance as communication, as storytelling, as a bridge between cultures. And when you combine that with BTS's already powerful performance style, you get something absolutely unprecedented. There's also something I need to mention about JHope's creative evolution. During his solo projects, he had complete creative control for the first time. Every decision, from concept to execution, was his to make. That kind of responsibility forces you to grow in ways you can't imagine. JHope learned to trust his instincts, to make bold choices, to stand by his artistic vision, even when it was risky. And that decisiveness, that confidence in his own judgment, is what he brought back to BTS. Now, when they're in the studio or planning performances, JHope doesn't just suggest ideas. He champions them with the conviction of someone who's proven he can lead a project from start to finish successfully. Now let's talk about our lovely Jimin. ARMY, Jimin's journey during his solo era was genuinely a beautiful emotional roller coaster. Album Face in 2023, followed by Muse in 2024. If you listen to both albums carefully, you'll notice this isn't just a collection of songs. This is literally Jimin's personal diary, opened up to the world. Face talks about confronting yourself, about removing masks, about the light and darkness within us. Like Crazy, which became a huge hit, isn't just a catchy song, it's deeply personal. Then, Muse came as a continuation, exploring love, inspiration, searching for meaning. And Who, which literally broke records on charts worldwide. That's Jimin at his most vulnerable and authentic. But ARMY, what makes Jimin truly different now isn't just his chart success. We all know Jimin is a perfectionist who's super hard on himself, right? He's a member who most often criticizes his own performance, who most often feels not good enough, who's infamous for re-recording vocals multiple times until he's satisfied. Some of you probably remember that viral clip of Jimin recording up to dozens of takes for one line. Well, through his solo era, something magical happened. Jimin learned to embrace imperfection. He learned that vulnerability isn't weakness, it's actually strength. And this massively changed how he approaches music now. V once shared with fans, when they were recording Erarang, he was surprised hearing how Jimin approaches his vocals now. Jimin, who used to record one line up to 50 times, now focuses more on emotion and delivery rather than just technical perfection. And the result, ARMY? Chef's kiss. His vocals became far more soulful, more touching, more real. Even Jungkook, our golden magne, who's such a technical powerhouse, acknowledged that he learned a lot from how Jimin now channels emotion into every single note. There's a different depth, a maturity that can't be taught, only experienced. What I find absolutely incredible about Jimin's transformation is how his solo success gave him a confidence that's completely different from what we've seen before. Breaking into the Billboard Hot 100, achieving historic milestones as a Korean soloist, performing on global stages alone, all of these experiences build up a resilience and self-assurance that you can literally see radiating from him now. He's not trying to prove anything anymore, he's just being authentically himself. And that authenticity is what makes his artistry so compelling. Let me tell you something else about Jimin that really stands out. During his solo promotions, especially for Who, Jimin had to do countless interviews, variety shows, and performances completely on his own. No members to lean on, no one to share the spotlight with. And you know what happened? Jimin discovered he could be just as captivating alone as he was with the group. He found his own voice, literally and figuratively. The way he communicates now, the way he carries himself in interviews, the way he commands attention, it's all evolved. He's more articulate, more thoughtful, more present. And when someone who is already incredible becomes even more self-assured and grounded, the results are absolutely stunning. Now here's the most exciting part. Why does the combination of Jimin and JHope become such a game changer for BTS's comeback? Because ARMY, their transformations complement each other perfectly. JHope brings technical excellence, precision, and confidence in performance. Jimin brings emotional depth, vulnerability, and artistic maturity. When these two elements combine with the strength of 5 other members, what happens is chemistry that's completely different from BTS's previous era. Suga once commented that the group dynamic now is far more balanced. Before there might have been a certain hierarchy or certain patterns in the creative process. But now, because almost all members have experienced running their own projects, making their own artistic decisions, facing the consequences, they come to the discussion table with a perspective that's way more mature and equal. And Jimin and JHope, who have the most visible transformation, became like a bridge connecting various ideas from other members. In the making of Erarang, reportedly Jimin and JHope were super vocal, giving input, not just for their parts, but for the overall album direction. JHope, with his production experience, brought fresh ideas about how to incorporate traditional Korean elements with modern sound. Jimin, with his newfound artistic confidence, didn't hesitate to challenge concepts he felt weren't optimal and offer alternative visions. What's most beautiful, ARMY, the other members are super receptive. Why? Because they know Jimin and JHope have proven themselves in the solo arena. It's not just talk, it's backed by real achievements. I want to share one moment that really painted the picture. A big hit staff member told a story. When they were finalizing one of the choreographies for the comeback, there was a section that felt less impactful. Before, they probably would have relied entirely on JHope to solve this. But this time, Jimin immediately stepped up with a suggestion that incorporated contemporary dance elements he explored during JiminHot promotions. JHope immediately got it, and the two of them basically co-choreographed that section on the spot with input from other members. ARMY, imagine. That sequence might never have existed without the growth from both members. This is collaboration at its finest. And you know what's most contagious? The confidence. Jin, who just finished military service and was feeling a bit rusty, admitted that seeing how Jimin and JHope carry themselves with such confidence made him super motivated to quickly get back into shape. RM said the energy brought by these two members makes rehearsals way more fun and productive. Even the Magne line, who are technically the most skilled, acknowledge there's wisdom and experience from Jimin and JHope that makes the overall team dynamic stronger. There's also something incredibly powerful about how Jimin and JHope's individual journeys mirror each other in unexpected ways. Both face their fears head-on during their solo careers. JHope confronted his darker emotions and artistic uncertainties in Jack in the Box, while Jimin confronted his inner demons and insecurities in Face. Both emerged stronger, more centered, and more authentic. This parallel growth created a unique bond between them that the other members have noticed and mentioned several times. They understand each other's transformation on a level that's truly profound. I also want to talk about something that doesn't get mentioned enough, which is the mental and emotional growth both Jimin and JHope went through. Being a solo artist is lonely. There's pressure, there's doubt, there are moments when you question everything. But pushing through that, succeeding despite those challenges, it builds character in a way nothing else can. Both Jimin and JHope came out of their solo eras not just as better performers, but as more complete human beings. They're more empathetic, more understanding, more patient. And these qualities aren't just good for their personal lives, they make them better teammates, better collaborators, better artists. Another fascinating aspect, ARMY, is how both Jimin and JHope learn to handle criticism and feedback differently. When you're promoting solo, every critique lands directly on you. There's no group to share the burden with. This forced both of them to develop thicker skin while simultaneously staying open to genuine feedback. They learned to distinguish between constructive criticism and meaningless noise. And this skill is invaluable in a group setting where multiple creative voices need to coexist harmoniously. They can now advocate for their ideas while remaining receptive to others, creating a perfect balance of assertiveness and collaboration. Let me also highlight something about their work ethic that's changed dramatically. Both Jimin and JHope were already known as incredibly hard workers, but their solo experiences taught them to work smarter, not just harder. JHope learned optimization techniques from managing his own tour schedule. Jimin learned efficiency in the studio from producing his own albums. These aren't small improvements. These are fundamental shifts in how they approach their craft. And when they bring these optimized work methods back to BTS, the entire group benefits from increased productivity and better results in less time. Now I want to talk about something that gives me goosebumps, ARMY. The leadership qualities that both Jimin and JHope developed during their solo careers are absolutely remarkable. JHope had to lead his own creative team, make final decisions on everything from stage design to set lists, and take full responsibility for the success or failure of his projects. That's a different kind of pressure than being one of 7 members sharing the load. Similarly, Jimin had to be the face of his own brand, represent himself in every interview and appearance, and carry the weight of expectations alone. These experiences forged them into leaders in their own right, not just followers or team members. And now, when they come back to BTS, they bring that leadership energy with them, creating a group with multiple strong leaders rather than a traditional hierarchy. What's also incredible is how their relationship with ARMY has evolved individually, and how that enriches their connection with fans as BTS. When JHope interacted with fans during his solo tour, he built a unique rapport that was different from BTS concerts. When Jimin connected with ARMY during his solo promotions, he created intimate moments that were just between him and the fans. These individual bonds don't replace their collective relationship with ARMY, they enhance it. Now, when BTS performs together, each member brings their individual connection with fans, creating multiple layers of intimacy and connection that make the overall experience even more powerful and meaningful. Let me share something that really demonstrates the impact of their growth. There's been talk among industry insiders about how the recording sessions for Arirang were different from previous BTS albums. Apparently, both Jimin and JHope would offer suggestions not just for their own parts, but for the overall mix, the arrangement, the production choices. They weren't overstepping, they were contributing from a place of genuine expertise gained through their solo work. Producers who worked on the album mentioned that having members who understood the full scope of music production from their solo experiences made the collaborative process richer and more nuanced. It's like instead of 7 talented performers, they now have 7 talented performers who also think like producers and creative directors. There's also the matter of stage presence and performance strategy. JHope's solo tour taught him about pacing a show, about when to go hard and when to pull back, about creating narrative arcs within a concert. Jimin's solo performances taught him about holding attention solo, about creating intimate moments even in large venues. When you combine these learned skills with BTS's already legendary performance abilities, you get concerts that are more sophisticated, more emotionally varied, and more impactful. The upcoming World Tour isn't just going to be 7 talented guys performing, it's going to be 7 artists who each know how to command a stage individually coming together to create something exponentially greater. Now let's talk about the upcoming World Tour. ARMY, the impact of Jimin and JHope's transformation will be massive. JHope literally knows exactly how to pace a tour, manage energy across multiple cities, adjust performances based on venues and audiences. He's even already shared tips with other members to optimize their touring experience. Jimin, with his new performance maturity, will bring an emotional connection that's even stronger than before. Imagine ARMY, when Jimin performs with his new mindset in front of a stadium filled with tens of thousands of ARMY. The impact will be devastating in the most beautiful way possible. The fact that both Jimin and JHope have experienced the unique pressure and joy of solo touring means they understand crowd dynamics in a completely different way now. They know how to command a stage alone, which ironically makes them even more powerful when performing as part of a group. They can fill space, they can create moments, they can connect with audiences in ways that only come from that solo experience. And when you multiply that by 7 members all bringing their evolved skills, ARMY, we're not ready for what's coming. Think about it this way, ARMY. When JHope performed solo, he had to be the dancer, the rapper, the singer, the entertainer, the mood maker, everything all at once. When Jimin performed solo, he had to carry the entire emotional weight of the performance on his shoulders. They both learned what it means to be completely responsible for the audience's experience. Now imagine bringing that level of individual responsibility and capability back into a group setting. Each member becomes exponentially more valuable because they can stand on their own, which makes the collective infinitely more powerful. There's also something beautiful about how this transformation affects the other members' perception of Jimin and JHope. Before, they were respected as talented members of BTS. Now, they're respected as accomplished solo artists who chose to come back and strengthen the group. That choice, that commitment, means so much more because they've tasted individual success and still prioritize the collective. It's not obligation, it's genuine love for what BTS represents. And that kind of authentic commitment is infectious and inspiring to everyone around them. What makes me most excited is we're only seeing glimpses of what they're going to bring. Album Arirang is designed to showcase every member's growth. And with Jimin and JHope bringing their evolved A-game, the standard for other members is automatically raised. This isn't competition, guys. This is elevation. When 2 members step up their game to such a degree, the others naturally rise to the occasion. And that's exactly why BTS members themselves say Jimin and JHope are now on a different level. Because that level set a new benchmark for the entire group. So ARMY, mark your calendars. On March 20th when they make their comeback, or later when you attend their world tour, pay close attention. Watch how JHope leads with different confidence, how Jimin delivers emotion with new depth, and how all of this blends into a BTS that's somehow familiar but also refreshingly new. This is BTS at their absolute best. Not because individual members got better, but because individual growth was brought back to strengthen the collective. And it all started from the transformation experienced by Jimin and JHope during their solo eras. This is why they're called a different level army, because they literally elevated themselves, and in the process, elevated BTS as a whole. BTS's 2026 comeback isn't just a reunion, this is a rebirth. Okay ARMY, that's it for today's video. If you're as excited as I am for BTS's comeback, smash that like button. Drop in the comments who your bias is, and why you're most excited for this comeback. Subscribe if you haven't already, and share this video with fellow ARMY. Let's make this comeback the biggest one yet. Borahi ARMY. Purple you. See you in the next video.